This is Harry Murray in Murray's Fly Shop in Edinburgh, Virginia. What I'd like to do today is go over some of the techniques we use in our smallmouth fishing schools and some of the techniques that I think you're going to find effective that are on the hatches that are getting in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Let's look at the bass first. We're starting to do all of our smallmouth schools now. We use a couple places on the North Fork, a couple places on the South Fork. The first thing I want to talk about on the smallmouth bass is the fact that they are already starting to feed on the surface. The Shenandoah Blue Popper in a size 4 is just very, very effective. Now, what I'm looking for here are places that really attract the bass. That's where we're going to be taking the students in our class in this first part. Okay, ideally, smallmouth bass don't like bright sunlight. So you're looking for places along a shaded bank where the water is, we'll say 3-4 feet deep. 3 or 4 feet deep over a cobblestone bottom. I don't want sand, I don't want silt, I don't want mud. They're not going to attract many sizable bass. So we're looking for a cobblestone bottom, shaded bank, water 3-4 feet deep. Okay, and we're using this Shenandoah Blue Popper. Yes, for some reason the popper is the blue popper is just by far the most effective. All right, I'm casting that right straight back against the bank. As soon as that hits the water, I get tight with it with my line hand. I want to pop it, 6 inches, 8 inches, pause for about 10 seconds, pop it again, and swim it out and swim it out and swim it out. There's one place I do my schools routinely. This is money in the bank. I can see these boys going down along that bank, and I want to get tight to it because there is good cover tight, and there is food back in there. So I want to shove this in tight against the bank, fish it out very gently, out till I get it about 10 feet out from the bank. Then I'm going to pick it up and shove it downstream a little bit below where the other one was. By the way, I'm going to be wading downstream. I have more control over the popper when I'm wading downstream. So I'm wading slowly downstream, shoving that thing right in against the bank, and it takes a lot of bass, and the bass are already on these poppers. Okay, now the second thing is well worth knowing on this smallmouth schools. There's a place, I can see it right here in front of me. I have the students park their car. We're parking probably 200 feet back from the stream. We walk very cautiously in toward the stream. The water right in this area is probably 1.5 to 2.5 feet deep. Long gravel bar, just covered with shiner minnows. I'm always impressed with how impressed the students are when they look out and see these hundreds and hundreds of shiner minnows lying over these gravel bars. And these gravel bars may extend for 150 to 250 feet down along the bank. They run from the gravel bar runs from right against the bank out about 30, 40 feet. After that, it gets into deeper water. Now, what goes on? The bass know these shiners are there, and they are very vulnerable. They come charging in right into where the shiners are. You'll see the shiners fleeing to get away from them. What I do, I put my students out a little bit away from these gravel bars. They'll be 30 feet, 50 feet out from it. When the bass comes charging in to feed on these shiner minnows, I want to cast a Charlie Waterman silver outcast in about a size 4. You see the wake of the bass chasing the minnows. You're going to cast your fly out in front of the wake of that bass and strip it about 6 inches every 5 seconds to bring it to life. You want to swim it right in front of those bass that are swimming back through there. This is a very effective technique simply because the bass know those shiners are in there in great numbers, and you might get 100 yards of this kind of bank, and I can have 3 or 4 people in there fishing for them all at the same time. So it's the shiners and the gravel bars, and the bass are coming in after them, and we're casting out ahead of those bass and just swimming that silver outcast right in front of them. So both of these techniques, the popper on against the shaded bank, the shiner out in the gravel bars, and these are actually just 2 very, very effective techniques on smallmouth bass. We use them on the North Fork, South Fork. They're using them up on the Susquehanna. It is just a very, very effective technique. Now let's just jump down to the mountain brook trout. I know we're not having our schools now, but you can take advantage of this. In the mountain trout streams right now, the sulfur mayfly, Ephemerella dorothea, is a very heavy hatch on many of the streams that I fish a whole lot in the mountains. This is the main hatch. All right, the duns start hatching out about the middle of the day. They're going to be flying back into the trees to shed their skin, to come back in the evening as spinners to lay their eggs. So you've got the duns hatching off in these mountain brook trout streams about the middle of the day, and that hatch will continue right down to dark. Now, an overlap with this is you have the spinners coming back. Yesterday's hatch now. They're coming back to lay eggs. They're going to mate, lay their eggs in the stream, fall dead, and they will keep that up right into the dark. So what you've got the duns coming off, you've got the spinners coming back, and this will go right down. I've been there hundreds of times when this goes on right down to dark. Jeff and I were camped along the stream one day, and I was setting up the tent while he was walking up the stream to see what was going on. He said, "Dad, put that down. You got to come up there." We walked up, and there was one pool there. Admittedly, it was about 30 feet long, a narrow pool. And we looked up there, and we counted 11 separate brook trout on feeding stations, feeding on these spinners coming back and the duns coming up. While we were standing there, it was getting too dark to really fish, but we just stood there and watched them, and there were 11 fish on separate feeding stations. They weren't cruising the pool, but they were on feeding stations feeding on the duns and the spinners. Now, in addition to those sulfurs, which is a heck of a hatch, we also, this year's going to be one of our heavy hatches on the little yellow stoneflies. This is a very, very heavy hatch, and this hatch will be on all month long. The whole month out there, you'll have this for the whole month going on, and they'll be feeding on the adults as they're coming back to lay the eggs on them. Now, this is a relatively fragile fly. I like to use the on the little yellow stonefly, I like to use the one that we tie in a size 16. It's a downwing type thing, and we are going to fish that on a 6X with slackline cast and go one-on-one. You can either go one-on-one to those guys out there feeding, or you can just cover the water with your little Yellowstone fly. And that is very effective. It's one of the heaviest hatches, and you got it made. Oh, now I neglected to tell you back there, when I'm on those sulfurs, the ephemeral Dorothea, the sulfur, I use the Murray's little Yellowstone fly in about, I use that in a 16 and an 18, and fish that on 6X, and I use Ed Shank's pattern too. Ed Shank's sulfur in a 16 and 18 is a good hatch. So when you're thinking mountain brook trout fishing, I like dry fly fishing, I'm going to go for those two sets of flies, the sulfur and also the little Yellowstone fly. But this is going to be going on all the whole month. Work slowly up the stream, because although we had a fair amount of water to start with, the streams are going to be dropping rapidly for the whole next month. So I'd fish 6X on all of these, use a slack line cast, work your way real gradually up those streams, and just fish your way from pool to pool to pool to pool. So take advantage on that, these mountain brook trout, because it's just a wonderful fish and it's great action. If you have any questions on this, that book I've written on the park shows you most of these streams, where they are, how to get to them. And if you don't know those streams, I'll show you how to get to them and where you can park the car and walk in on them. But the action is just too good to pass up. Call me if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to go over it with you. And this is Harry Murray at Murray's Fly Shop, Edinburgh, Virginia. Thank you so much for being with us.